The Man Who Saved Tomorrow. Once upon a time, in a lively city, there lived a simple librarian named Thomas. Most of his life, Thomas found comfort among the quiet rows of books, surrounded by tales of heroes, adventures, and amazing worlds. Even though he loved the stories he read, his own life felt ordinary until one day when everything changed. It was a chilly autumn morning when Thomas was sorting through some old books donations. While doing this, he found a dusty old journal, curious about its age. He opened it and found a name that excited him: Galileo. This journal contained thoughts, sketches, and dreams about the stars from the famous scientist. But one drawing in particular caught his eye, a star map showing a constellation that no one had seen in modern times. Driven by his interest, Thomas began looking into the constellation. He discovered that it had been imagined centuries ago but never observed. The journal hinted at an event in the sky that would make this constellation important during an upcoming meteor shower. Was this just a strange coincidence, or could it be that the universe had a secret waiting to be found? Over the following weeks, Thomas threw himself in studying astronomy and learning all about Galileo's life. He learned ideas fighting against ignorance. This story touched him deeply and gave him courage. Inspired by Galileo's struggles, Thomas decided he wouldn't just accept things as they were. He would seek out the truth. On the night of the meteor shower, the city buzzed with excitement as people gathered in parks and on rooftops to watch what they hoped would be a spectacular show of shooting stars. But Thomas had other plans. He wanted to go to an old observatory outside of town that had not been used in years but still had an ancient telescope. He believed that if he could uncover the constellation, it might lead to something incredible. When he arrived at the observatory, the air was filled with anticipation. The sky was a wide canvas, painted in deep blue and covered with sparkly stars. While shaking hands, Thomas focused the telescope on the coordinates from the journal. His heart raced as he adjusted the equipment, lining everything up until a lovely light began to show in the darkness. Just then, a brilliant flash zipped across the sky, a meteor. But it was more than just an ordinary meteor. It seemed to glow with energy, lighting up everything around it. As Thomas adjusted the telescope again, he could see the constellation perfectly lined up with a bright phenomenon. At the moment, he understood the deeper meaning of the journal. This was not just a chance to look at the stars, it was a reminder of humanity's strength. our desire to learn, and our connection to the universe. Feeling a wave of connection with everything around him, Thomas wanted to share this moment with others. Pulling out his phone, he invited people to the observatory. Within minutes, families, curious minds, and fellow stargazers flocked to the place, all eager to witness the magic of the night. As excitement filled the room, the observatory turned into a gathering spot of wonder. It was no longer just about Thomas, it became an experience shared by everyone there. They talked about Galileo, inspired by his spirit, and gazed up at the stars as if they held the keys to the universe's greatest secrets. But the real magic happened next. Inspired by their shared experience, a local artist began to paint the scene. A scientist started listing new ideas about the cosmos, and a teacher gathered thoughts for lessons that would ignite curiosity in his students. Thomas saw that the spark he had turned into a flame, inspiring people to chase their dreams and break the chains of ignorance. Weeks turned into months, and this gathering grew beyond the city. Starting a movement, schools formed astronomy clubs, local artists held workshops, and communities came together for nights of stargazing to celebrate the beauty of the universe and the power of knowledge. With each gathering under the stars, a community blossomed, joined by a shared desire to learn and grow. Thomas had not only found purpose for himself, but he had also tapped into something greater, our human need for connection and meaning. Years later, as he sat in that same library, now filled with energy and new community stories, he thought back to that special night, the dusty journal, a symbol of discovery, now held a proud place on the shelf. Thomas realized that it wasn't just the stars that had changed the world. It was people choosing to look up, to wonder, and to connect with one another that had made a real difference. So, Thomas became more than just a librarian. He became a spark of curiosity, reminding everyone he met, the universe is vast, but it's our shared dreams that make it feel like home. In a world often filled with division and sadness, he had started a movement that shone a light on the path towards understanding, hope, and the path toward understanding. As you tell this story, take a moment to let your listeners feel the warmth of connection, the joy of discovery, and strength within all of us to create change through Thomas. They too can learn that the greatest stories often start with a single spark of curiosity, a reminder that each of us holds the power to shape tomorrow.